The last thing we can afford is to let down our guard.
Now at 6, no time to relax. City and state leaders urging New Yorkers to stay the course to avoid a second wave of cases.
Help is here. Cheers and signs of support for the frontline workers sent as reinforcements to a Long Island hospital.
And powerful storms slam the tri-state where we've seen the worst damage, and how long we'll be dealing with the dangerous winds. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday. I'm Natalie Pascarella.
And I'm Chuck Scarborough. In response to the coronavirus crisis, another 6.6 million American workers filed first-time unemployment claims last week. That is worse than most analysts expected. Today's number brings the total number to more than 16 million people, or 10% of the workforce, filing those claims in just the past 3 weeks. Now, President Trump is about to hold his daily briefing. He plans to unveil a second task force focused on the administration's response to the economy. The team will include a mix of private sector and top administration officials. And White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows is expected to lead that new task force.
And Chuck, a look at where coronavirus cases stand tonight in the tri-state area. In New York, there are more than 159,000 cases, 7,067 deaths. New Jersey has 5,100 cases and 1,700 deaths. And in Connecticut, there are now more than 9,000 cases and 380 deaths. Now, the number of New York's deaths alone is more than 45% of our country's total. And to give you some perspective, a bad seasonal flu kills about 1,900 New Yorkers a year. COVID-19 topped that number just in the last 3 days. We have our crews spread out all across the tri-state. We start with Andrew Siff, who is in East Harlem. Good evening, Andrew.
Natalie, good evening. Researchers here at Mount Sinai have determined that the novel coronavirus was in New York City weeks earlier than previously learned, and that the virus arrived from Europe, not from China. On top of all that, we've also learned today that the social distancing measures are working, enough so that officials are considering ways to reopen and to relax some of the rules. New York has flattened the curve enough. The mayor talked today about loosening rules next month. He wouldn't get specific about what he calls graded social distancing. You envision restaurants opening with limited seating. What can you describe to New Yorkers as a good case scenario should this play out forward?
Again, to see those different rules, Andrew, as like a menu, and you may relax one a little and another one not at all. There's different things you can do. And
Governor Cuomo said anyone who gets the idea social distancing can end now risks ruining recent progress.
The moment you stop following the policies, you will go right back and see that number shoot through the roof.
Meanwhile, frontline healthcare workers still worried about risking their own lives.
How can we take care of our patients if we cannot take care of ourselves?
And taking care of those who've lost their jobs in the pandemic hasn't been easy either. State officials today promised a new Labor Department website tonight.
Today, between 5 and 7 p.m., the system is going to go down to reboot. 7 o'clock, the new application goes online. It's streamlined. There are fewer questions.
Meanwhile, new questions about the virus after Mount Sinai researchers today said COVID-19 hit New York weeks earlier than first thought.
The data suggests that the virus circulated undetected for a couple of weeks in our metropolitan area.
For doctors and nurses at crowded ERs, no rest for the weary.
I'm seeing people just kind of worn out from day after day of doing this.
But some help has arrived. Here's the supportive send-off in Ithaca for a team of 60 doctors and nurses now in New York City. Luann Giangreco leading the team at New York Presbyterian.
We saw that there was a need in New York for additional staffing help, and we had the staffing to be able to assist.
And again, just to reemphasize, Mayor de Blasio said only if the social distancing continues to work for several more weeks would they even consider loosening some of the rules in mid-May. He said it might not be until June, and even then it would only be some of the rules, with many distancing measures still in place. We're live in East Harlem. Andrew Siff, News 4 New York.
All right, Andrew, thank you very much. As New Jersey deals with 51,000 coronavirus cases, the National Guard is now posted at a Veterans Memorial Home in Paramus. Nearly a dozen residents there have died from complications of COVID-19. And nursing homes in Elizabeth, the death rate is rising at an alarming rate. News 4's Brian Thompson continues our team coverage from Jersey City tonight. Brian?
Yeah, Chuck, and the mask is back on at this hour because foot traffic has picked up. The storm has gone away. The tents behind me of this testing center have survived that storm, which is a good thing, but roughly 5% now of the long-term care residents in New Jersey are infected with the coronavirus, according to state officials. That's a staggering 4,000 people, and every day the toll of dead climbs. New numbers overnight at 3 Elizabeth nursing homes, including the Elizabeth Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, now counting 45 dead in all. Dozens more infected. The mayor wanting to get healthy residents out stat.
We've offered the sports arena, 2 vacant convents in order to convert.
And a grim toll as well at the state's Veterans Home in Paramus, where nearly 3 dozen have died, most likely from the virus. Some 110 residents and staff either infected or suspected of being infected. 40 National Guard medics brought in to help augment a COVID-depleted staff.
Feed any of the veterans that need to be fed, that need to be bathed, that need their IV checked to check oxygen level.
Matt Platkin, Governor Murphy's chief counsel, testing positive for coronavirus, but it does not mean Murphy will get tested.
Even when we were in the same building, we were 20, and I keep it that way with basically everybody 20 feet or more apart.
This afternoon's storm could have been a threat to the many testing tents set up across the tri-state, but at least these here in Jersey City held up well. In Bayonne, high winds and a downpour forced many people to forget social distancing and crowd in line under shelter as stores now strictly enforce the governor's orders. Patterson Mayor Andre Saya quarantined at home after testing positive and showing me his 2-week residency, frustrated that some fellow citizens testing positive are not providing tracking information.
So people have to cooperate. For some people, it's a matter of life or death.
Now, Governor Murphy did have a major initiative to announce today, another one, this one dealing with insurance premiums. He ordered a 60-day grace period for paying your health and dental insurance premiums and a 90-day, a 3-month grace period to pay home, car, rental, and life insurance premiums. All that taking effect immediately. Live in Jersey City, Brian Thompson, News 4 New York.
All right, Brian, thank you. That should definitely help folks out there. We want to get to Connecticut now, where we have the latest numbers coming in. There are now more than 1,000 new coronavirus cases in the state and 45 new deaths. That brings the total number of cases to more than 9,700, with the total number of people who've died to 380. Connecticut has also seen 3,000 patients hospitalized with coronavirus since March 10th. More than 1,200 have been released and are now recovering.
Greeted with cheers and applause today, nearly 24 nurses arrived on Long Island today to help overwhelmed hospital staff there. News 4's Greg Sergel was there for all the excitement, and he has a story for us from Stony Brook.
The sound of sirens actually sparked joy today outside Stony Brook University Hospital. Staff here welcomed the arrival of about 20 critical care nurses, reinforcements from a SUNY hospital in Syracuse.
1, 2, 3.
Stony Brook's chief nurse says this team will help rescue a hospital overwhelmed by COVID-19 cases.
That's so important to know that others are out there fighting this fight with us, and believe me, this is a fight.
A fight that nurse Jessica Falgitano decided to join only after getting the go-ahead from her family.
Their conclusion was that, if you can help, then you need to go do it.
1,000 nurses have been on the front line here at Good Samaritan Hospital in West Islip. Outside, they're greeted by signs of support, but inside, their chief nurse says they're facing a war zone of COVID-19 cases.
We are working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, trying to accommodate these very, very sick patients.
Finding the staff to treat those patients, she says, is now a crisis here and at other Suffolk hospitals. These are the moments that make the sacrifice and long hours worthwhile. A patient leaving Good Sam after overcoming this virus. Every discharge, a morale booster for the tired staff.
It's absolutely exhausting, both physically and mentally, and we need to keep the staff motivated to continue to do this.
The nurses who arrived here at Stony Brook will begin work on Friday, joining a Suffolk hospital system described as amazingly resilient and being bolstered every day by the unwavering support of the surrounding communities. We're in Stony Brook. Greg Sergel, News 4 New York.
All right, we want to take a break now from our coronavirus coverage to get a check of the weather because we're seeing some pretty strong winds out there moving through our area. Let's give you a look at some of the damage left behind in Nutley, New Jersey. You see several trees were knocked down by the strong storms there. So how long will we be dealing with the winds? Let's bring in Storm Team 4's Janice Huff joining us now from her home. Janice, I could hear the wind whipping and feel it here at my house in Bergen County.
Yes, Natalie, all over the tri-state area when that line of severe thunderstorms came through, we had those gusty winds, and it's no wonder we saw wind damage today. Look at some of these wind gusts this afternoon. New Jersey seeing the brunt of it, or some of the higher ones. Barnegat Light at 71 miles an hour. That's just below hurricane strength, above 60 miles an hour in Linden and Seaside Heights and Keyport, and above 50 miles an hour in Point Pleasant and Toms River. Still, across the Northeast, all the way to New England, the gusts are still pretty strong. Back down to Washington, D.C., we're still seeing some very strong gusts near 40 miles an hour. It's because of an intense area of low pressure that's still strengthening. It's not done yet. Then it's not going to move away fast enough for the winds to really die down significantly. So we'll be dealing with this again tomorrow. Notice that we see a little bit of a dip in the winds later tonight, but they ramp right back up tomorrow. More gusts above 50 expected. I'll show you that and the weekend forecast coming up in a few minutes. Back to you.